Do you think that maybe some of these new invented genders, the gender fluid femme mass person or whatever, do you think in some ways they also perform the function of helping you avoid saying you're gay?
Yes, because I think one of the
way binary is.
I think
I'm sorry.
No, I think one of the great achievements, you could say, of the gay rights movement was to allow people to express their masculinity or femininity in ways that might not be standard, right? So one of the great achievements of the gay rights movement has been to say there's no one way to be a man and there's no one way to be a woman. And if you want to be a bull dyke and wear overalls and Doc Martens, then that's okay, and you're still a woman. And RuPaul, he is a fabulous gay man. He wears a dress and he's beautiful when he's performing as a woman, but he's no less a man because of it. And now, because of sort of this non-binary option, and in another way, you could say some aspects of the transgender movement are sort of reifying the gender binary and making it so that kids who are growing up and might be an effeminate gay boy who likes to play with Barbies, as I did for a year or two, maybe. Or if you're a tomboy girl who likes to play softball, and I don't know, whatever lesbians do, Katie, there might be pressure.
Mostly softball.
Yeah, softball. There might be, there's more pressure and there might be parents who would rather have, I don't know, I think Katie knows more about this than I do, but there may be parents who would maybe rather have their effeminate gay son be a girl, right? Or maybe that's easier for some people. Maybe that's I'm just speculating here.
So I'm working on a piece right now for Barry Weiss's newsletter about gender and sort of trans issues. And someone I interviewed recently brought up a point that I hadn't thought of before, which is that, so we know there are studies going back 40 years of kids who present at gender clinics because they have gender dysphoria, discomfort with their biological sex. And we know from 30, almost 40 years of studies that the vast majority of those kids desist, which means essentially grow out of it and grow up to be gay or lesbian. But these studies, when they started, mostly these kids weren't getting puberty blockers. And now, if a kid is gender nonconforming, has some discomfort with their body or their place in the world, perhaps, and they go to a gender clinic and they're prescribed puberty blockers inhibit sexual development. So if you take puberty blockers and then go on to take cross-sex hormones, you aren't really given you don't really have the sexual development that would enable you to say, oh, actually, I'm gay, right? So if you're a kid, and I was a tomboy growing up, and if I had gone on puberty blockers or whatever, immediately, before puberty and then cross-sex hormones or whatever, I wouldn't have had this stage where you're sort of coming to terms with your own sexuality, because puberty blockers actually stops that. And I find that very interesting, and it's something that I hadn't really thought of, that puberty blockers might actually be inhibiting sexual development in the exact period when adolescents, youth, children would be exploring their sexuality and coming to terms with their own sexuality.
Yeah, and I think puberty can be a really clarifying thing for a gay kid.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just speaking from my own lived experience. I didn't really know what it was to be gay, partly because no one told me, and there was nothing in the culture, and maybe because I wasn't even that stereotypical. I did use my mother's makeup, but I did it to get a mascara to make the tiny little boy hairs on my chest.
You did it in a non-gay way, a totally straight way of using your mother's makeup.
In a way, I don't know what that would be, but all I wanted was to have a hairy chest. That was all I wanted. That was all. I remember, this is so confusing. I remember watching a sketch once on TV where it was in a doctor's office where a guy had to take his shirt off and lie down and be examined, and he had this giant furry chest, and I was just like aghast at like 7 or 8. And then the next day I'm like, can I be a doctor?